Hello, I'm Nightmaaron, and welcome back to the letter. So we left off with Rebecca leaving the housewarming party and talking with Luke after he had the whole ordeal with the police chief's wife. They blew up and caused a big scene. So we're now outside leaving the housewarming party, and we are Rebecca. The brush of fresh air against my cheek does little to dampen the chill in my bones. By now, the sensation, the fear, and the disquiet it leaves whenever I see her is familiar enough for me. Already it has made a home in my nerves. I don't even notice my trembling hands until I cross my arms across my chest. The cold from the tips of my fingers seep through the thick material of my shirt. Neither of it helps bring together some semblance of coherent thought in my head. But I know I should.
Someone has to tell that douche.
I start walking back before fear can cripple me again. It's not wise. Returning, that is, especially after what happened. But Hannah's still an old friend, and Luke doesn't deserve whatever misfortune that letter might bring. I can't just leave those two in there. Isabella's right. She's real, and there's something she wants from everyone who has read that.
Becca, where'd you go off to?
If you're done here, let's go. I'll get you back to the city. Another part where the voice acting's gone. My mistake. The second his voice cuts through the crisp night air is that I've allowed my annoyance to get the better of me. Fuming, purpose forgotten, I whirl around and march toward him. One accusation of another piles at the tip of my tongue, ready to be hurled at any moment. There's no hesitation holding me back when I fling it at him. That straight face he keeps as I doesn't help temper my anger either. Like in English. It only makes me want to slap more sense into him.
Shouldn't I be the one asking you that?
Becca, I've been waiting here the whole time since that mess in the hall. I told you I hate parties like...
And before that, where have you been the entire evening?
Right then and there, I might have forgiven him if he'd shown some ounce of remorse for leaving me like that. Maybe he could have looked away, given me a sign that my assumptions might be right. He doesn't even need to put them into words. A single gesture of confirmation is all I need. Rather, what I get is the same impassive look. He does that whenever he can't disclose anything. He does that whenever he's lying. In the face of it, amidst the thick tension and frustrated huff is the only thing I can summon.
Be that way. Fine. Suit yourself.
She's pissed. No more words. After everything I've seen and heard tonight, I'm already too exhausted for those. So without speaking any further, I simply walk past him and stomp over his car. Although before I can pull open the door, he calls out, one hand outstretched, a gentle weight on my shoulder.
Wait, Becca.
He pauses, his brows furrowing and lips curving into a slight frown. I can almost see gears turning in his head when he tries to piece together everything he wants to say. Before, perhaps I might have waited patiently for those. He's not a fond man of using words to express himself. More often than not, any gesture of honesty will only come out blunt and coarse when forced. But today, for one reason or another, I simply can't summon that forbearance.
Ashton, if you're just going to waste my time again...
Becca, listen. I don't know how else...
That much is obvious. Why don't you just take the whole bloody night? Go on. I can wait until next year. Better yet, why don't you just keep it all to yourself like you always do? It's not like...
Rebecca, will you hear me out first?
The silence I can offer him, but whether I'll believe what he's about to say is still up for debate. A very long debate.
I honestly don't know how else to put this. I'm aware your parents have some kind of history with Hannah Wright, and somehow you're friends with her. But you should stay away from these people for now, especially the husband.
Who? Luke?
His expression deepens into a scowl at my mention of the name, but whatever opinion he has, he doesn't immediately voice. Still, something about it has greatly displeased him, evident in the stiff note his tone assumes.
Yeah, he's bad news.
It's my turn to frown this time. What does he mean by that? So we have two choices. What does he have to do with this? Or care to explain your reasons? I'm going to say, what does he have to do with this?
Oh, what does he have to do with this?
It's not a question without merit. Though the man can be quite abrasive, sometimes downright nasty with his words, you can't simply accuse anyone by virtue of that alone. And it is an accusation, no matter how much Ashton's phrasing downplays their meaning. What right does he have to tell me who I should associate myself with, without even bothering to tell me his reasons at that?
Plenty. Just trust me on this, Becca.
Don't you Becca me. That doesn't answer my question at all, Ash. You haven't answered any of my questions, in fact. What's really going on here?
Tell him, Becca. I want to hear it from him. If we're to go down this route, I want to hear it straight from his mouth. Because whatever he thinks of the man, I haven't found out any reason why I should be wary of him. Sure, we've started off on the wrong foot, but he's a decent guy when he tries. A simple explanation is all I want. Is that really so hard to understand for him?
The situation's complicated. One mistake and you guys could...
So, we're back here again. More secrets? Why can't you be honest to me for once?
He's a dangerous man to be around, Rebecca.
Really? Care to elaborate on that?
Her face.
Because from what I've seen, the only dangerous thing about that guy is his audacity to cheat on his wife.
Why are you defending him?
Who said anything about defending anyone?
You know, I'm getting really worried about you guys. First it's Zach, and now you're...
Oh, you're worried?
Somehow, even the concern feels empty to me, even if it's from him.
You care? Really now? If you care, then where were you the entire party?
That doesn't matter right now. You know I can't simply...
Forget it, Ashton. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to talk about this anymore tonight. Speak to me when you're ready to stop spouting the same barefaced lies.
Oof. Ashton jerks back as if I've struck him. For a fleeting moment, something akin to hurt darts across his features, his eyes narrowing and his hands closing tightly into a fist at his sides. It does little to lull my ill humor, because in the next second, his answer sounds nothing of the apologetic tone I'm expecting from him.
Fine!
Oof. A little regret would have been nice.
Fine.
In my anger, I don't even notice when I've climbed inside his car. Not until after I've slammed its door behind me with as much force as I can summon. He follows soon after, and shortly we're on our way back to the city. Yes, even with the city's bright lights welcoming us, the dense, somber air from the mansion still lingers. The moon is almost at its highest by the time we reach Salemwell. Even after our respective heads have cooled off, the atmosphere within the car remains rife with unspoken tension. This isn't a problem so easily fixed with a few handshakes. Quite frankly, I don't know what will. Ashton himself has no idea what to do when he alights and waddles awkwardly in the middle of the car park, unsure. It's almost like he's having an internal debate whether he should say goodbye or mutter another apology. I could have driven him away purely out of spite the second I've gotten off. Still, old habits die hard. It's late, and Ashton's flat is on the other side of the city. Irritation might still rear its head every time I look at him right now, but I'm not too cruel to put him up on another long drive. Especially when he still appears as if he hasn't gotten any rest.
You can borrow the couch.
I throw the keys to my flat his way before a protest forms on his lips. Although he catches it with ease, he eyes it with wary expression and shoots a puzzled glance my way.
You haven't been forgiven. We're still going to have that talk, believe me. But I'm not about to send you out on another drive looking like that. It's late. Go get some rest.
We're setting aside a lot of loose ends like this, but he appears to have accepted that reason, at least in the meantime. He does give me another questioning glance when I shove past him, pulling my mobile in the process.
Where are you going? I thought...
You go ahead upstairs. I need to contact Professor Andrew.
Andrew? Why would you... Oh, no. Please. Is this that thing Isabella said this morning? Again? I already gave her my word, Becca. I'll look into this BRC crap. No need to drag the old guy into it.
Of course, he's still skeptical. It makes one wonder if he's even seeing anything at all. Figures this curse will stay away from the scoffer. But this is another loose end tonight that I just can't leave alone. Ashton's beliefs notwithstanding. It just so happens that it's one I can delve into using means other than looking at a mansion itself.
Ashton, do you really think I still give a shite after that stunt you pulled tonight?
No, but this is...
I spent so many years with him to know this is about to turn into another argument. Before he can finish it, I cut him off with a firm raise of my hand.
Look, I don't care. There are weird things happening around here. And yes, it's Isabella's brand of weird. Ghostly voices, strange sounds, and a bloody woman sitting at the back of my car. You don't have to believe me. And I no longer have the patience to convince you, so just leave me be, Ashton.
He doesn't push it, growing quiet instead, although I know he has a whole case of it prepared inside his head. But there's a reluctant shift in his movement when he steps away from our conversation. Short of climbing the stairs, he stops, turns to face me with an expression almost too conflicted.
Are you really sure?
What?
That there was something? That you've been, seeing things?
Yes, I'm very, very certain. Now go. And you better not break anything in there. The last time I let you stay over, it was that statuette Belle gave me. You haven't even replaced that one.
The last of my reprimand goes both unheard and unanswered as he disappears behind the stairs. If things aren't as strained, he might have had a quip or two about that, followed by a light banter. Instead, for a long moment, I'm left staring after him. There's something in the way he asked it that nags. Coupled with the expression, the whole exchange just feels unsettling. So I wonder if he's starting to have some experiences and is just pushing it off to stress or whatever, because he is a policeman. So in those jobs inherently have stress. One that doesn't fade even as I gather my thoughts and shift my focus on another, even as I dial Professor Andrews' number. And that is when it clicks. During the long wait for the professor, one stray thought emerges from the unease. Ashton has not intended for his question to be a jibe. It's concern. For what, though? For my well-being? The letter's curse? The woman I mentioned? The answers for those will have to wait, however. Finally, the call connects and Professor Andrews' voice echoes from the receiver.
Professor Andrew?
Rebecca? It's late. What can I do for you?
I know, I'm sorry, but this is a bit urgent.
After all, this is a more pressing matter. Our lives might be at stake, and we're still in the dark.
Actually, I was wondering if I could ask you to do me a favor.
October 30th, Sunday. Professor Andrew Clark has agreed to meet with me 2 days later in front of Luxembourg's public library. He has other commitments, but being a longtime family friend has its perks. I have my parents' connections to thank for that. Of course, I'm not the sort to impose on him often, but the situation is, well, it's not entirely bad, although it does require calling in a few favors from friends like him. Without his signature, I won't be able to gain access to the library's restricted section. If I want to get more in-depth information about the Ermengarde mansion, that is. Not simply what they choose to show the public. As much as I hate to admit it, there is always something people censor, and whatever it is, I won't ever find it in the general section. It has to be what they're keeping here, beyond the public eye. The thought of that alone makes me antsy. Thankfully, I don't have to brood over it. The wait for the professor doesn't last long. He never did enjoy making people wait. Likewise, he dislikes people who are tardy. He arrives 5 minutes after I do, greeting me with that kind smile and casual wave of his hand. I haven't seen him in so long, but it appears he hasn't changed much. His familiar presence alone is enough for a fond smile to spread across my face.
Professor Andrew,
Rebecca.
Rebecca.
Didn't I say long ago you can drop the professor?
You know I can't possibly do that. Even if I can, it feels disrespectful to call you by your name alone.
Both you and Ashton never listen to this old man. Kids these days.
All right, but just for today, since you're doing me a huge favor, Andrew.
I guess you simply can't have it all, even at this old age. But pleasantries aren't what we're here for, yes? You mentioned you needed a permit.
Yes, sir, if that's okay with you.
More than fine. Anything in pursuit of knowledge, as they say.
He hands me the permit without further prompting. And just like he promised, he's also written a recommendation after his signature. This is more than enough to get me to those files. I mutter a small thanks before slipping it into my pocket. Although when I look back up, his brows are furrowed, the very face of curiosity. Not surprising considering how vague I've been during our little talk over the phone. Right then and there, I've decided to tell him if he ever asks. Maybe not all of it, but stuff he needs to know. It's the least I can do to thank him. As expected, true to his inquisitive nature, he asks.
If you don't mind, though, I know you've always been an eager learner, but may I know what in the restricted section that piqued your curiosity?
It's the God mansion, sir.
He's quick to raise an eyebrow at that, and for a while, I fear he'll take the slip of paper back. Is there something in what I said?
The ones they have out in the general isn't enough?
I'm, hoping for a more in-depth read, sir. More about the history and the people who once lived there. The general section doesn't have anything much on that.
Oh, I see. Well, you certainly aren't the first one to be enamored with that place. It doesn't shock me. The architecture is admirable, and the urban legends are something to talk about.
Not quite urban legends, though.
Why, just this past week, I've got a few asking me about that. Imagine that.
I think enamored might be a little too much to describe our interest in it. But I have to agree. The mansion is beautiful, even with the renovations. They kept the stained glass windows, too. They are magnificent.
Oh, you've seen it.
I was there for a few hours to attend a housewarming party. The invitation was for my parents, but they couldn't make it. My mum used to work as a private tutor for the Evans. Hannah Wright?
Ah, I know of her. Her husband, too. Who doesn't?
His face doesn't look he's happy about that.
Luxborn's most popular couple.
Yeah, he doesn't like him. Something falls behind his eyes, the warmth in them suddenly gone, like he's reliving a painful distant memory and seeing it play right in front of him. It disappears almost soon as it surfaces, but that look has unsettled something in me.
Is something the matter?
Nothing much. But you know, you're already like a daughter to me. So if you could, do be careful with the friends you make.
Is this about the Wrights, sir?
Just a friendly advice from an old man. Don't think much about it.
So what has Luke done so wrong? I mean, besides being an asshat, but I mean, to where the police are investigating, the professor doesn't like him. I mean, what's going on here?
Anyway, I have to leave now. Can't miss my weekly serving of bear claws. Say hi to your parents at the detective inspector for me, will you? I wish you luck with all that research.
Thanks, Professor.
I will. Thanks for this, Andrew.
Andrew gives my shoulder a light squeeze, the gesture the younger me has always appreciated, and quickly crosses the street after. I watch him until he disappears behind the door to a cafe, until the doubts swimming inside my head find a moment to rest. Whatever his business is with the Wrights isn't anything I should concern myself about. But somehow, in the grand scheme of things now, all of it feels oddly relevant. The how, though, I've yet to find out, and I'm hoping the library will give me the answers I want this time. On a gloomy Sunday morning, the library is especially empty, the second floor in particular. I've always considered this place a sanctuary, a respite. away from the hubbub of the city. I like libraries. As a child, I grew up reading books here, spending hours to no end poring over the pages, living out fantasies in my head until my parents called me home. Now it feels nothing like it. The silence is smothering, suffocating. Even with how clean they've kept the microfiche room, how the entire smell of it lacks a speck of dust clutter, breathing is a struggle for air. Not far into my stay, I begin to long for the noise outside, and perhaps a way to calm this unease, I start to hum a tune. Imagine that. Why of all things it has to be that silly nursery rhyme? I've not even a inkling. If you guys have ever watched the original Dark Shadows series, Sarah Collins hums that, or sings that song, and it's kind of haunting with the stuff that goes on in that series. So if you ever get a chance and you don't mind old stuff, check out the Dark Shadows. It's on Amazon right now. It does its job. However, it fills the lull with something far less awkward, far less deafening, and that is enough for a distraction. I have business here. No time for silly daydreams, only important work to attend to. Even if there's a possibility of it being fruitless, by some means it feels like I have to do it. If not for me, then for the people who have been affected by this. What do we even call this? A haunting? A Halloween prank gone wrong? A curse? If Isabella were here, what would she say? Will she panic? Will she be angry I only listen to her now? It all stems from that one moment in the movie house, doesn't it? We could have avoided this if we only had taken her warnings to heart. One stupid mistake is all it took to send our normal lives into a downward spiral. Frankly, I'm no longer sure if I'm angry at myself for it, or at the universe for throwing us into this mess. But we can only make of what little we have, and that's exactly what I'm doing. Going here might not be the right decision, but it's a start.
A good start.
It doesn't take much time for me to find what I need. Microfiche of old newspapers, long kept in a special storage cabinet at the far end of the restricted section. The year is 1620 and beyond, before the city of Luxborn even exists in the records, when the mansion has just been built and Ansem is nothing more but a small, sleepy hamlet near a river. A lot of pieces are missing, days, sometimes several consecutive weeks without any records remaining. Often it goes on for years. Troublesome, but as it is, I'm lucky enough to find anything at all concerning how far I'm looking back. Can't be picky now. Can't waste time mulling over record keepers of the old could have done to make this a breeze for me. Messed that up, but
I can still work with this.
the faint whir of the microfiche machine keeps me company as I go over each slide, each image, hoping for something that goes beyond what the local lore knows. There are snippets, little mentions of the family that once settled in the house here and there. The usual singing of praises for the couple who brought up what was once a tiny settlement into a buzzing town. Nothing substantial, nothing I didn't know before. It continues on like this for a good while, till I come by the years after their deaths. The people of Ansem might have loved Lord William and Lady Elizabeth Ermengarde, mourned their passing, and held them in high esteem in the years after. But it was their daughter that was remembered fondly by the townspeople. If her parents built this town, Lady Charlotte was the one who made it prosper. Remarkable, considering it was a period of recovery from about a plague that killed half the town's population, including her parents. What's surprising, though, Hera puts a stop to local slave trade. Apparently, her time also marked more than superficial changes to the place. She moved things, changed laws, altered old customs and traditions. If they were done on a woman's whimsy, it didn't say, but she seems capable enough for more than that. The gist of it is, this town she rebuilt. It's what eventually grew to become Luxborn City, while the nearby Ansem village remained as it was, a relic of the old. A frown swiftly forms in my face.
So, why is there a need to hide this?
One by one, I try to recall every lesson I've gone through, every book, paper, and journal I've read. None of those ever mentioned this. It's always the lord and lady of the house, the endearing child, always an afterthought to those anecdotes. The one that will, or who always took, the one who always took her life in the end. Never someone who restored a town from the brink of collapse or brought new ideas to it. Is it because she's a woman?
That pisses me off.
Me too. Granted, not everything is sunshine and rainbows. Not all aspects of her can be considered admirable. But this is history. Some parts are bound to naturally delve into unpleasant territory whether I like it or not. Witch hunts, for example, became common near the end of her life. Luxborn witch burns. Which would have been completely unremarkable and might have gone to become a mere footnote in history if it didn't involve Lady Charlotte and the very slaves she saved. It caused quite a stir, enough to leave almost a week's worth of clippings. The girl was eventually burned, condemned by an entire town, at the word of Lady Charlotte alone. But this doesn't really have anything to do with the curse, does it? Unless that woman following us and this slave are the same person. A tale of revenge? How cliché. However, with the lack of the accurate photographs, it is impossible to tell. Maybe if I squint, the illustration would start resembling her. But in my field, it doesn't work that way. It shouldn't work that way. I'll be the laughing stock of a community.
This isn't going anywhere.
Mentally exhausted, I take a careful step away from the screen, pressing my palm to my tired eyes. The lack of ample light in this area doesn't help. A headache already threatens to form at the back of my head, yet I'm nowhere near figuring things out. This is simply too much to take in all at once.
I should have asked for someone's help.
You should have. Now I'm at a dead end. I start gathering everything around me and placing them back in their respective envelopes for storage. The motion's no longer new after volunteering here a number of times. I didn't make much mess anyway, considering the lack of materials available to begin with. I'll have to look somewhere else. The where remains unknown though. But just as I'm about to slip past the last slide, something catches my attention. My hand pauses, the microfiche halfway through its protective sleeve. This is one of the few I've set aside without taking a careful look at. It seems like a gossip column at first glance, but upon closer look, I slide it back into the reader, gently churning the dials in search of the page. It takes some time, but once the image becomes clear. Ermengarde Heir announces betrothal. They must have had this drawing commissioned for the announcement. I don't doubt it. The details are far more intricate. Their likeness likely closer to how they might have appeared at the time. They're both recognizable this way, closer to the paintings I've seen in the mansion. However, it's the man standing beside her, Edward Godfrey, according to the article, that caught my attention previously. Her first cousin, and eventually her fiancé. Ooh. Maybe it's the posture and the manner in which he holds himself. Or maybe it's the shape of his eyes, though I can't be too certain about that until I've gotten a better reference. Nevertheless, there is a resemblance. He looks eerily like... My head snaps up, glowering at whoever's running in the floor above. Any day, I'd march upstairs and reprimand whoever it is.
This is a library, for heaven's sake.
But now isn't the time. I've gotten what I need. Without wasting another minute, I hit the machine's print button for a copy of the page, while my other hand moves to put everything back into storage. A ragged exhale slips from me. Relief, perhaps? Or maybe this is already exhaustion. Regardless, soon, I'm closing my eyes and I wait for the printer to finish, if only to stave off a headache from building up from everything. Sometime I've even begun humming the same song again for comfort. Despite my doubts about this, despite all the tension in my shoulders, this may be a small fine, but at least I can start somewhere. We can start somewhere. There's a way out of this. I know it. The printer sputs to a halt. However, its sound isn't what makes me snap my eyes open. A feeling, a chilly brush of air behind my back. brief enough for something sickening to suddenly lodge itself in my throat while I take in my surroundings. It's that suffocating sensation again, creeping into every part of me, crawling under my skin. Oops. Draining me little by little of any strength. From that day in the mansion, from that brief moment at the school, without delay, I grab the papers and make a quick beeline for the door. My whole body freezes.
What are you doing, Miss Pink?
I hold my breath, not daring to make any noise. For a little while, only the sound of papers crumpling under my grasp filled the room. The excitement from earlier gone instantly, replaced by cold, seeping dread spreading through my limbs. But more than fear is the anger. It pains me to hear her using my own student's voice against me, and more than once I believed it was really her. She has no right.
Why don't you play with me?
Although she hasn't made a move, if there isn't a wall behind me, I'll probably take a step back. Anything to put distance between us, no matter how small, as long as I'm out of her reach. But I steel myself, because if I do fall back and turn away from her, I'll be left with no way out. I am not dying here.
You think you scare me?
Miss Pink, don't be so rude. I'm waiting.
I'm not afraid of you, you spook! This is one Scotswoman. You aren't getting into an early grave without a fight!
Oh, her accent kind of came back.
Come at me!
I expected she'll lunge to prove to me what a monster she is. Instead, all she gives me is a smile, twisted and gnarled. It's as if time has crawled to a stop at the sight of it. A split-second decision, and before you know it, my body shifts, eyes closing in anticipation, hands grabbing whatever's solid enough at the nearby table and hurling at her. I don't bother looking if whatever I threw hit its mark. I run, as fast as my legs can carry me, despite my heart threatening to burst out of my chest. But in this maze of bookshelves, with the whole place almost void of people, is there even a place safe enough I can escape to? I think the obvious decision would be for head for the doors, but is that so obvious that it's going to get me dead? Should I head upstairs? We heard people upstairs. That was the key. Remember somebody running upstairs. There are people upstairs, aren't there? The weekend staff or some volunteer? There should be. Even if it's a Sunday, I'm only here on a special permit. There should be at least one other person manning this place. I heard them a while ago. Of course, I couldn't possibly tell them about this. They won't believe me in the same manner we didn't buy Isabella's story until it was too late. But I can easily come up with excuses. For now, what's important is I don't end up trapped and alone with her.
Safety in numbers, as they say.
There's no hesitation in my steps as I race upstairs, ears straining for any signs or sounds of a woman appearing, jumping at me again at any second. I can still hear her behind me, the grinding of bones as her whispers as she keeps calling me back. Although it's at a distance, I don't slow my pace, library rules be damned. Because no matter how much I pretend to be brave, the level-headed one or the tough one, this terrifies me. This scares me more than anything. This isn't how I plan to die. But when I get to the third floor, only silence welcomes me, and emptiness that stretches out far too wide, spanning the entirety of the floor for it to be reassuring. And just behind me, somewhere at the foot of the stairs. Shit, I should have went to the exit. Panic rises up in my throat. No other way now but up. So I bolt, desperation kicking in without warning. I take 2 steps at a time, tripping clumsily over some of it in my last-ditch attempt to escape. But I know, at the back of my mind, I know all of this is futile. With every footfall, with every ragged breath, with every pounding of my heart, it gets hammered to my mind. And it only becomes clear to me once the door at the end opens. revealing the vast expanse of Luxborn's early morning skyline, and with her treading at my heels, blocking my only way out.
Stay away from me!
A useless plea. Does she even understand a word I say? Can she even? Is she still human in the first place? Somehow I doubt it, because no human being will ever do this. Simply imagining what she's capable of doing to us. I never want to give her that chance.
I'm telling you to back off!
Her gait is slow as she walks forward, each stride accompanied by a sound of breaking bones, blood oozing from wounds that never found healing. And with every inch she draws nearer, even as I pull away to take back what little distance I can between us, the smile on her merely grows wider. A mocking gesture, for me. She may be less human now, but I'm pretty sure she's fully aware she's got me cornered. She wouldn't even bother making it here if she isn't. But I can't look away. I can't bring myself to, even as the heel of my shoe eventually hits the edge. Into the line, trapped, alone. So this is how it ends, huh? Quietly, without fanfare, surrounded not by a warm breeze, but chilly morning air. No soft footfalls on an empty hallway, but the din of early morning traffic below. No warm afternoon light. Nothing but the cold, pungent smell of death, all underneath the dreary morning sky. How fitting. Yet amidst all of it, there's a single voice I want to hear. If only for the last time.
Becca?
Hey, did I wake you up?
No, I left you a voicemail, so I thought, where are you?
The one I grew up with. He always got grades better than I did without even trying. Whose silly antics I have put up with all these years. Who stood by me even when things got tougher. That one person who's been a constant in my life.
Ash, do you remember that one time?
The what?
Back in secondary. We joined a contest back then, didn't we? We had to dress you up as a girl and...
No.
What? You looked really pretty. I think I still have that picture somewhere.
Burn it. We're not talking about that again. You promised. Seriously, what brought this on?
Nothing. It's just the first thing I remembered.
So weird. Despite everything, my lips curl into a smile, faint, and a sad little thing on its own given the situation. Because even at the very end, I know I have this. The casual talk, the friendly banter, talking like how we always did as children. If only I haven't been too selfish. If only I haven't taken all this for granted in favor of my feelings. Then perhaps I won't be regretting anything now.
You're being weird today, Becca. Whatever. Listen, I need you to go home right away. I'm at Salem Well right now and...
I wish time would simply stop for us. There are still a lot of things I want to say. Things I've never bothered saying out loud. Things I should have said a long time ago to someone who has always been by my side. But in this moment, there's only one.
Thanks, Ash.
Uh-oh. Is she really gonna die?
Hold on, did I do something?
For everything.
Rebecca, what?
I'm so glad to have known you.
Wait, what are you?
Oh, God.
God damn it, Rebecca, where are you?
A soft click. And I'm closing my eyes. There's a rush of air. The sound of the world dimming around me. Like a song coming to an inevitable end.
London Bridge is falling down, falling down, falling down. London Bridge is falling down, my fair lady.
Oh my God. No way. Oh my God. What the actual fuck? No way. Oh boy. I gotta take a break now. Oh my God. Wow, my hands are sweaty even from that. Wow. Well, let me know what you think about this in the comments below. I can't believe this turn this took. Oh my God. Wow, stay tuned, because I'm going to get more up here real soon. I want to get this knocked out. I've been dragging it on forever. It's my longest running series. It really is. So hit the like button if you liked it. Leave me a comment below if you want to. Be nice to one another, and we'll meet in the next video. See you guys.